30th Sunday in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. Thus says the Lord, shout with joy for Jacob, exult at the head of the nations. Proclaim your praise and say, the Lord has delivered his people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them back from the land of the north. I will gather them from the ends of the world, with the blind and the lame in their midst, the mothers and those with child. They shall return as an immense throng. They departed in tears, but I will console them and guide them. I will lead them to brooks of water on a level road, so that none shall stumble. For I am a father to Israel. Ephraim is my firstborn. The word of the Lord.
Has done great things for us. We are filled with joy.
The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy.
When the Lord brought back the captives of Zion, we were like men dreaming. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with rejoicing.
The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy.
Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We are glad indeed.
The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy.
Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like the torrents in the southern desert. Those that sow in tears shall reap rejoicing.
The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy.
Although they go forth weeping, carrying the seed to be sown, they shall come back rejoicing, carrying their sheaves.
The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy.
A reading from the letter to the Hebrews. Brothers and sisters, every high priest is taken from among men and made their representative before God to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He is able to deal patiently with the ignorant and erring, for he himself is beset by weakness, and so for this reason must make sin offerings for himself as well as for the people. No one takes this honor upon himself, but only when called by God, just as Aaron was. In the same way, it was not Christ who glorified himself in becoming high priest, but rather the one who said to him, "You are my son. This day I have begotten you." Just as he says in another place, "You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek." The word of the Lord.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. And Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord.
The first reading comes from Jeremiah 31, 7-9. This is one of the passages from the prophets that speaks about the restoration of Israel. Remember, Jeremiah 3 times had predicted that the destruction in Judah would be total, that there would be no voice of the bride, voice of the bridegroom. And so to hear this passage which speaks about God leading his people back, and especially those who were the weakest in society, the blind, the lame, the mothers with children, he is leading them back because God is a father to Israel. God truly loves Israel. The punishment that he imposed upon them was not a sadistic punishment in order to get even with them in some way, but rather to bring them around, to make them turn back to him, because that's all he ever wanted. The second reading is from Hebrews 5, 1-6. This passage speaks again how Jesus is our high priest. And like the high priest of the Old Testament, he had to be considerate and understand the weakness and the difficulties of the people to whom he served. But Jesus is a high priest who, even though he's called as Aaron was really a high priest in the mode of Melchizedek. Aaron was a priest because he was of the tribe of Levi. He was of a special tribe chosen by God, and therefore he inherited his priesthood. Whereas Melchizedek was a priest of Jerusalem. So that already gives us the connection, Jesus being a priest who offers up his offering in Jerusalem, the offering of himself. And Melchizedek was a priest who wasn't from the Levite background, just as Jesus wasn't. Remember, Jesus came from the tribe of Judah. The Gospel is from Mark 10, 46-52. Jesus is leaving Jericho on his way to Jerusalem, and on the way Bartimaeus calls out and asks that he be healed of his blindness. Now the phrase that he uses to address Jesus is Jesus, Son of David. This is the first time we see this title in the Gospel of Mark, and it says Jesus is going up to Jerusalem. He'll be proclaimed a king in the line of David when he arrives in Jerusalem. This is a prefiguring. And notice who is the one who shouts out this title? A blind man, one who is weak, one who truly needs Jesus to intervene on his behalf. Jesus does that and heals him. And what does Jesus say to him? Your faith has saved you. In the New Testament, whenever somebody expresses faith during a miracle, the person is said to be saved. Whenever somebody doesn't express faith, the person is healed. The difference being saved, he's healed both in body and in soul. And may God bless us.